Okay, can you hear me? You there? Can you hear me? I don't have the best location
Yeah,
today.
I hear you.
Okay, there's a room that behind me up here in this thing where I was sitting yesterday, which is much better. But this morning it's locked. Uh, maybe I'll move in the middle if the guy opens it. Okay, today we're going to start um, a good question before that. We're holding on for college, right? Question b'kayanim. And for college, I'm Question b'kayanim possible of him. I think that's where we're holding. Okay, I think Hashem is able to enter every day. We're supposed to be learning which have the best of English and everything. The Mishnah says like this: Kasher b'kayanim possible of and kasher b'kayanim possible b'kayanim. We're going to learn about the age of when the Akayan starts and stops his Aveda, and when the Levian start and stop the Aveda. But basically, what it says here is that it's mutually exclusive. What would be acceptable for Kayanim is partial for the Levian, and what would be acceptable for the Levian is going to be partial for the Kayanim. And we'll learn in the Brisa how this works. Let's start in the Brisa. Kayanim b'muman psulim. A Kayan becomes possible if he gets a mum, if he gets a defect, a blemish, then the mum in the psukim. But his age doesn't matter. Even if he's old, he can still serve. He can still be a kohen. Levian, on the other hand, the mumman ksherim, the Levi could have a mum, he could still serve. But b'shanim psulim. But his age makes a big difference. He could become invalidated because of his age. Nimtza comes out, it's kosher b'kayin impossible Levian. It's kosher for the kohenim becomes invalid for Levian. That means that the age which doesn't matter for Kainim, invalidates a Levi. Kasher B'Leviim, a mom that's Kasher B'Leviim is possible Kainim invalidates the Kainim. Minani Mili, where do we get this from? We have another brisa. Pasuk says, Zeis Shel Leviim. The following is the halachas of the Leviim. Pasuk goes on, after Zeis Shel Leviim, it says that from 25 years and up, he goes to serve in the army, which means to serve in the base of English. So it says, "Ma Talmud Laimar." Now, really, the whole thing was talking about Levium. It didn't have to say Zeis Shel Levium. It could have just said Ben Esim Shana, Ben Chamish Vesim Shana. Actually, so Ma Talmud Laimar. Why did it have to say the speech? And remember Ben Chamishim Shana Yosef, because it says from after 50 years he returns from the Tzva Havayda, from serving. So yeah, 50 Lamadnu Shalavim Shashanim Paisim, because this would teach us that the years make a difference by the Levium. I could have thought that maybe a mum also would make a difference. We didn't. And I would learn this from a Kalvachayim. The Kalvachayim would go as follows. When it comes to Kayanim, that the years don't make a difference. Kayan is kosher even if he is older. But the Levi becomes possible once he's 50. So, if a Levi, it's such a big difference in his years. In a Kainim, it doesn't matter. A Kayan doesn't matter. So for sure, what matters by a Kayan should for sure matter by a Levi. You see, the Levi is much stricter. The Levi, if he's older, he can't serve anymore. So, but the mom that's possible for a Kayan for sure should be possible for a Levi. The Talmud Laim has Zeis Shel Leviim. So therefore, the pasuk says Zeis Shel Leviim, which means Zeis Leviim ve'necher Leviim. The Leviim only have one halacha, and that is their age. The mum doesn't matter for Leviim. Okay, so that's what we learn, that the mumim is only for Kayanim and not for Leviim because it says Zeis Shel Leviim. Yochal Yu Kayanim still in the sun, and let's go the opposite way. Let's say now that we'll see that this time. Oh, okay. So maybe we should say that the Kayanim should become puzzle with years as well. In other words, if he's over 50, he should become puzzle. But like dinner, it should be logical. It should be a kavachema. Malavim came mum plays them shan plays with them when it comes to the Levi, that the mum doesn't make a difference. But what really matters does make a difference. The years, that's what really matters. So Kayanim Shem Paisim them. Kayanim where a mum does make a difference. In Adinshi Shanam Paisim them for sure the years should make a difference. But that it seems like that matters more because that's what passes by Levium, which doesn't pass by with the mumim don't pass by it. Hamadaymar Asher la Levium v'lo Asher la Kayanim. That these years, it says Zeis Asher Levium, this applies to Levium, it does not apply to Kayanim. We have two limudim from this pasuk. One from the Zayis Asher Alavim, and that tells me that by the Levi is only Zayis, is only the years, and Asher Alavim tells me that mumim the only apply that the years only apply to the Levi and not to the Kayan. It's exclusive years to the Levi, and it's exclusive the years to the it's exclusive that only years matter to the Levi. So it's exclusive that the Levi's only issue is just the years. Yeah. Now the Brisa continues that it's not so simple. Yachalaf B'Shila Beis Elam came. Where does this apply? We know that in the Midbar, the Levium had more jobs than they had in the Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash, they would watch the door and they would sing. What happens in the Midbar? They also had to do some carrying, some heavy lifting. So this halacha, where a Levi starts at 25 or 30, possibly, we'll see on the next page. Actually, we'll see on this page. And he stops at 50. Does this only apply to the Midbar? Does this also apply to the Beis Elam, which means the Beis Hamikdash, and Philo in the Mishkan Philo? So it says no. In that pasuk that says from 25 years until 50 years, it says over there to do the work of carrying. I only said this. This is only said. This limitation is only if they're carrying on their shoulders. Now the Brisa continues with a contradiction. One pasuk says that that it says from 25 years and above. Another pasuk says from 30 years. Well, so how can you say 30? Says he starts at 25. But you have other pasuk. How can you say 25 when it says 30? Okay, so how does this work? 5 years he's an apprentice. 5 years he's practicing, he's studying. And then after when he's 30, when he's 25 he's studying. When he's 30, then he can already start doing the Avodah. We can, and from this teaches us the Talmud Shleiros Simin Yafa b'Mishnasa Yisan Neraya, that a Talmud that doesn't see success in his learning, 5 years he's not going to see afterwards. You give it 5 years, trial. Now Rashi says Rashi says that he learns but he forgets. If you see that he's not able to retain it after 5 years, then he should move on to something else. Now I see in the commentaries that they're saying that what it says in Pirkei Avos, that a person learns from 5 to 10 Chumash, and Chumash Lemikra, and Esher Lemishnah. We give each one 5 years is because based on this teaching here, that a person has 5 years to see if it's going to work. And he learns for 5 years, and if it works, good. And then the same is from 10 to 15 for Mishnah. We give him 5 years. Rabbi Yossi says not 5 years; it's really 3 years. Where does he get that from? It says in the pasuk, "L'gadlam shanim shalosh, l'lamdam sefer l'loshen kastim." It's talking about in Sefer Daniel. It says that they were going to take these people, that take the I guess it's the is it Hanani, Mishael, Azariah? Let me see. And Nebuchadnezzar asked to bring the good-looking Jewish boys that were smart, that they could serve in the in his palace. He told them to feed them good food. He was going to teach them Kasdan, Lashon Kasdan, the Chaldean language. And he says, we'll teach them the language for it'll take 3 years. You see that learning only takes 3 years, not 5 years. So what does the other opinion say about this? There was quite a pasuk here that says learning takes 3 years. Well, that's the Nebuchadnezzar's opinion. There's V'idach, the other opinion holds, the Tanakama, Shani Lashon Kasdan, the color. Yeah, that's an easy language. That's Lashon Kasdan. That's just like Spanish. It's easy. You can learn that quickly. So that takes 3 years. V'idach, what do the other opinions say that says that everything, all learning only takes 3 years? Why do you say that learning takes 5 years? Shani Hilchas Avodah Takifim. That's by the Avodah. That's very difficult labor. That's going to take 5 years to see if you can do it. There's a lot of halachas. That's going to take extra time. But a regular topic that you want to study, you can figure that out in 3 years. Okay, so it's machlekes here, Rabbi Yossi and the Tanakama. How long a topic should take? Tana Rabbanan. Tana Braisa. Kohen mishiyavish deisari said she asked in kosher avoda. Said that a kohen doesn't retire when he's 50 like the lady does. It says actually Yaskin until he's older he can still do the avoda. However, mum and paislam bay. But if he gets a mum, then that's a problem and he has to become special. Ben Levi, what about a Ben Levi? A Levi, not the kohen. And Ben Shleishim ad Ben Chamishim, he has from 30 to 50. It's kosher avoda. It's on a paislam bay. And if he's out of age, then it becomes special. This was only in the desert. When it comes to Shila, to the Mishkan, or when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash, it doesn't become possible when he's 50. It becomes possible when his voice starts aging, when he can't sing. I'm Rabbi Yossi Mikra. Yossi says, where do we see this, that it becomes possible with his voice when he can't sing? So now my photo pasuk from I'm sorry, Mikra. It says they're gonna sing as one to the cymbals and to the singers to give over one voice, which means they all sing together in unison. That tells me that the Levi has to be able to sing together with everyone else. If he can't sing together with everyone else, his voice is going to stick out because it doesn't match. So then he's going to be disqualified. What's the pasuk in Divrei Hayamim? Ad sheyazkin ad kama says that a kohen becomes possible when he's older. When is he considered older? So I'm Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Lah says the name of Rabbi Chanina. Ad sheyirtas, when he starts to shake, starts to tremble. Like a tremor, well, okay, so that's going to be when he's puzzled. Tanan Hasam was taught in a Mishnah in Mikvayis. It says Balkari shetaval v'lehitul mayim. There's a Balkari, someone that had a mission, and he went to the mikveh, but he didn't urinate before he went to the mikveh. Like shiyatol tami, when he urinates afterwards, he becomes tami again. There's an assumption that there's some zera that didn't come out, that came out when he urinated. Rabbi Yossi says that's not actually so. That's limited to certain cases. That's only b'chayla b'zakin, tami. If the person was sick, or the person was an elderly person, then he'd be tami. However, b'yeled b'baritar, if he's a child, then the assumption is that all the zera comes out immediately, and he goes to the mikveh, he's going to be tar. And he urinates afterwards, that was already clean. That was not nothing to do with the zera. Yeled ad kama. How long is he a child? I'm Rabbi Lah, I'm Rabbi Chanina, kol shem daraglei achas v'chelis minalei v'nayel minalei. So Rabbi Lah says in the name of Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina was a first generation Amayra. His name is Rabbi Chanina Bar Chama. And he actually was a doctor. And he told us before that no one ever came to me, and the Zion, he told us, no one ever came to me to ask about a bite from a white mule and ever get healed, right? Remember, we spoke about at the, the strong damage that the white mule does. Anyway, he says that what's the test to see if a person is a child is if he can put his foot, one foot on the ground, one foot in the air, and he can tie and untie his shoe. If he can do that while standing on one foot, so then he's considered a child. Yeah. To connect this with the ger that came to Hillel, but I don't know exactly how that would connect. Anyway, Amr Allah Rabbi Chanina say ben Shmeinim Shana. He said about Rabbi Chanina, he was 80 years old. That he was able, when he was 80 years old, he could stand on one foot and he could tie his shoes. Well, that would tell me that if it was a Balkari and he went to the mikvah, so he would be tar from that. He wouldn't have to go to the mikvah again after a year now. Amma Rabbi Chanina explained that how did he get such strength? It's common v'shemen shesachtani yimi bi'aldusi, hot water, the baths and the oil that my mother gave me when I was a baby. Basically, that's what strengthened me when I was older. Apparently, some things you do when you're younger, they make a difference to how strong he's going to be when he's older. Here was the oil that they put on him, the hot baths and oil. The person has a full beard, a boy has a full beard, he can already be a shliach tzibur. He could daven for the Amud. The later lifnei teva, I don't know what the difference is. Shliach tzibur, later lifnei teva. Shliach tzibur, Rashi says, means to blow the shofar. To put people in chayrim. Okay, that's quite a job. And also to become a parnas, be like an official. Then leir lifnei teva, that means to daven. At least says kapov and also to duchen. I didn't realize that someone to duchen needs to be already a full beard. That's interesting. We see the children going up. I guess they're going up together with their father. Can they go up on their own? The Taisus says doesn't need to have a full beard. It just needs to have the two pubic hairs. He says, yeah, that's if he wants to go once to the Amud. But if he wants to be the official chazan or to daven on the special days, then he needs to have a full beard. On the tinus and my mother's. Then Tisha says, what about duchening? It says even a cotton can duchen. So his answer is that a child can duchen together with the adults. But if Neatzma, he has to have Beis Saras. What about what it says here? It's not answering the question. This just leaves us in the dark. That's why over here doesn't say he has to have a beard. I don't know. Okay. So, when is he going to be kosher to do the avodah? So we know about these other things that he has to have. Okay. So we know that he has to have a beard to be able to be a full-time shliach tzibur, etc. But when is he kosher for the avodah? So it says when he has two pubic hairs. Rabbi says Omer Ani. That I say, we learned before that the Omer Ani was actually a humility. Sounds like a yichzag, but no, that by Rabbi was that this is what I would like to say. Imrani, I'd say Ben Esrim. Until he can't do the Avodah until he's 20. Can't do the Avodah until he's 20. Okay, it's filling up a bit. I'm Rab Chisda. Rab Chisda says, my time with the Rebbe. What's the reason for Rebbe? It says that he's 20, that he can't do the Avodah until he's 20. Talking about a kain. Iksiv, Vayamdu, Esalaviyam, Ben Esrim, Shana V'Mayla, Natseach, HaMalachas, Beis Hashem. That they stood the Levium from 20 years old and above to be strengthened on the work of Hashem, work of the house of Hashem. So we see that the Kayanim have to be 20 years old. Now, the word Levium, we're going to see in a minute, and it means Kayanim. The Yidach, what does the other opinion say that says from Beis Saris? The Natseach Shiny, over there, that's to strengthen. Now, this must mean that there's certain types of work that's required. At age 20, it's fine. A regular Avodah for a Kayan was fine when we see every Beis Saris, when he has the two pubic hairs. Correct the Gemara says, V'aikra b'Leviim ksiv. The Pasuk says Levium, it's not talking about Kainim. Says, well, that's not a problem. That's because you're Bishua ben Levi. Like we learned from Bishua ben Levi, we had this statement other places as well. Damar Bishua ben Levi, best from Rabbi chemist, Nikru Kainim Levium. We have a Pasuk that says, Akainim Halavium b'nei Tzaddik. The Kainim, the Levium, the sons of Tzaddik. You see that the Kainim are called Levium. So too over here, when it says that we withstand the Levium from 20 years old, it means the Kainim. The Kainim could be called by the general category of Levium. Levium would be more inclusive, and they could go under that category as well. It says there's 24 places in the Tanakh where we find that Kainim are called Levium. Okay, Tanur Rabbanan. Let's put in a brisa. Ish Mizaracha L'Dereisam. It says that any man from your descendant for future generations that will have a mum to not come to do the Avodah. The Kanam Rabbi Lazar, Katan Pasal Avodah. Rabbi Lazar, this is Rabbi Lazar. Interesting. This must be Rabbi Lazar ben Shemua. That a Katan cannot do the Avodah. It says why? Because it says the word ish. Bafilu tam. Even if he doesn't have a mum. Because where does the mum make a difference? That's only by an ish. That's only when he's a gadol. Over there, if he has a mum, then he can't serve. But if he's not an ish, then he can't serve even without a mum. When is he considered eligible to do the avodah? When he has already the two pubic hairs. However, even though he's eligible from the two pubic hairs to already do the avodah, but the Kayanim didn't think that was appropriate, and they would wait. They would make him wait until he's 20. His brothers the Kayanim. However, he wasn't puzzled. It was just what was considered appropriate. Ikadamri, there's some that learn this a little different. It says, Rebbe, that this opinion here that says that until he's 20, the brothers wouldn't allow him to do the Avodah, that's actually the opinion of Rebbe. Now, if that's the case, then when Rebbe said, Omer Ani, that I say that it's only when he's 20, that's not really Rebbe's opinion that really if it's going to be puzzle if he's not 20. What Rebbe's saying is that we would like that they would only let him do the avodah if he's 20. But midirabanan, even midirabanan, it still would be kosher. But people psul derabanan last night. You don't even have a psul midirabanan. It's just what people thought was appropriate. Ikadamri, there's others that say that Rebbe is like psul midirabanan. That Rebbe really holds that you have to be 20 years old, and under 20 you cannot do the avodah. And this brisa that says that you have to be that says that the brothers wouldn't let him. That's Rabbanan. This is the opinion of the Rabbanan that argue with Rebbe, and they say that you really can do that with already from the two pubic hairs, and 20 years old is just something for the brothers. But the Avid doesn't share, but for the Avid, it's going to be a good avodah. Let's see if I could move. 1 second. I feel like we got somewhere. I was gonna check if the store opened up. And then, No, and that's when that's been happening today in my thing. Okay, let's do the next mission. It says Tar b'klicheres tamei b'kol hakelim. Tar b'kol hakelim tamei b'klicheres. Okay, basically what we're going to learn here is that the klicheres becomes tamei when something goes into its ear space. And all other kalim become tamei when something touches it. Klicheres doesn't become tamei when something touches it. So the Mishnah says that was tar b'klicheres. If something impure touches the klicheres from the back, that's still pure. But that case, that scenario would happen to other kalim, not a klicheres mitzvah. The other kalim, which is called klisheta, which is like metal or wood, that would become tamei if it's touched. And then it goes on, it says tar b'kol kalim. If something would enter into the airspace of a metal kalim, if it doesn't touch the actual wall, it just enters into the airspace, so then that would be considered tahar. However, tamei b'klicheres, that would invalidate by a klicheres. Tan rabbanan, tan rabraisa. Vir klicheres tamei v'gabi tahar. The airspace of klicheres is tamei, but it's what's touching the back of it would be tahar. Vir kol kalim. Avir kol kalim is tar. But in all other vessels, if something tummy goes into the airspace but doesn't touch it, it's tar. The gammon tummy. But if something touches the back of it, the kalim becomes tummy. Nimsa, what comes out is tar b'klicheres tummy b'chala kalim. It's tar b'klicheres. It's going to be tummy by all kalim, which means in the airspace. Avir kol kalim tar, the gammon tummy. Yeah. So Virklichkeit ist dann wieder bekannt. Virklichkeit nimmt es. Virklichkeit ist dann bekannt. Virklichkeit ist dann bekannt. Okay. Exactly what we know. The Tanner, Minani, the Gemara says Minani, where do we know this from? The Tanner Rabbanan, the Tanner Nebraisa. Peichai says, but enters inside the Klicheres becomes Tamil. Half a piece Leinago, even if it didn't touch the walls. We're talking about over here, if it says Peichai, talking about making the Klicheres Tamil. I'm sorry. The pasuk Teicha is talking about a klicheres that's tamei makes what comes into it tamei, even if it just goes into its airspace. It becomes tamei from the airspace. It works both ways. The klicheres becomes tamei from the airspace, and also it will make something food that goes inside it tamei even from the airspace, even without touching it. So Teicha, that anything that goes inside the klicheres becomes tamei. Even if it didn't touch the walls, you're saying even if it doesn't touch the walls. Maybe when it says taicha, it means that it touched it from the inside. So Rabbi Yonasan ben Avtulmus, he says that nemar teiche letame v'nemar teiche litame. To read this properly. Nemar teiche letame. It says to make. It says the word teiche to make things impure, to make other things impure. The klicheres will make something else impure, make the food impure. And it also says the word taichai to make the klicheres impure. Li tame means for it to become tame. Ma teicham le tame, just like when it says that it makes something else tame. It's afapish naga, it doesn't need to touch it. Afteicham li tame, also for it to become tame, afapish naga, even if it doesn't get touched, even if it's just in the airspace. How do we know that a klicheres can make something tamei without touching it, just by the airspace? Rabbi Yonasan, Rabbi Yonasan says, I wonder if it's the same Rabbi Yonasan. or maybe this is for later. It says, "Atayre yidal klicheres ravilam alikardo." The answer is like this: that if you have mustard seeds, the very tiny seed, and it says anything that's inside the klicheres is coming. So really, anything? Let's say it's filled with mustard seeds. Now, if it's filled with mustard seeds, then there'll be a wall of mustard seeds surrounding the wall, and then enclosed within that wall that's on the surface, there'll be other things that are also there, filling up, filling up, filling up. So all the things that are filling up don't actually touch the wall, but nevertheless it says kol yitzah. Anything that's inside will become common. Oh, if that's the case, if that's the case, so then, so then, um, So then we see that anything inside him when it doesn't touch becomes tameh. Yeah, I see the guy that's supposed to open this room over here, which is more quiet. It must be something. So the whole 770 is dependent on the one guy with the teeth. Okay. um, let's go. I don't want to get stuck in the middle, but it's getting difficult to learn here. Let's leave it over here. We're on top of Cafe Amadala. Let's leave it over here. Okay. Have a good day, everyone.